man. Oh, listen. Oh my gosh. So first and foremost, we're live. Yay. No, you are going to do awesome, man. I love bringing women on this show that, because I used to be in that space. Everybody thinks, because I've been doing the show for a while now, that it was always this way. And real quick, before I say any more, you guys say, hey, as you come in. I'm so excited about this show. I can't wait for Denise to talk to you about her story. Oh my gosh. But I was going to say, I think the first time I did a podcast, and it's funny, I'll have to find my first podcast. It sounded awful. It sounded awful. I was all over the place, and I got off. I was like, none of that made sense. I'm like, because when I do stuff, if I'm really like with the podcast, I try to give the podcast an outline. It took me 2 or 3 podcasts before I had an actual outline of how I was going to have the show go. And but it was great, because then when I started this show, I was like, okay, I need an intro, and I need an outline, and I need to know how the show goes so it has direction. So everything has a beginning, but I love it when women come on and they're like, I'm just so nervous. I'm like, no, you're gonna do great. And they get off and they're like, oh my God, oh, so awesome. And then you know what they do? They go speak at more stuff. So I feel like it's always the next stepping stone. I think it's cool. So all right. Oh, I love it. All right. Okay. Say hey as you come in, you guys. I'm so excited. We are on episode 48. We are one I want to say 1 3/4 show away. 1 3/4 show away from episode 50. So that's like, that to me is nuts. That's where you get to it and you're like, oh my God, I did 50 episodes, including my podcast. I think it's like 65 episodes that I have, like, I guess, produced and done. And oh my gosh, so it's crazy. But all right. So say hey as you guys come in. Comment for anybody who feels called to. Please share the show. I want to keep getting that out there, and you guys rock if you do it. If not, I hope everybody that tunes in interacts. I want everybody to feel free to interject, join in on the conversation. I look at it like this is the virtual table, so I want everybody to pull a seat up and have a part of the conversation, because everybody's story is important, and I think every woman has the ability to contribute something to somebody else's life. So I'm so excited. So before I go any further, I'm going to drop into the intro. I'm going to introduce my awesome guest. All right. And we are going to get this show started. So without further ado, hello and welcome to the TUF Woman Table, you guys. The table where I invite some super badass tough women like Denise here to take a seat and join in on the conversation and share her amazing story, you guys. And she has got one hell of a story. Like, I think we've talked a few hours, and it's always something. Yeah, I'm so excited. It's always like an evolution, and there's always some more. So I'm excited for her to come here and talk to you about it. So at TUF Woman, I believe that all women have the power within themselves to live an authentic life free from fear and confident in who they are and empowered to go after that life, whatever that looks like to them. I share this belief by championing tough women who have walked through the fire, felt the fear, faced adversity, and kept pushing through it all. Women who now live the life they want is the woman they were created to be. Women who own their stories, so that other women can embrace and own theirs as well. Because as we all know, when we give ourselves permission to own our story, we give somebody else permission in the same breath. So it's like a dopamine hit every time I say it.
It is. I love that.
I was in the shower. And I said, I'm going to make this intro. Like, I'm just going to get more epic with my intro every time I come in. I'm just going to be like, wow. And in the shower, I'm talking about, I'm going to make the intro epic. And I had this like somewhat download of a speech that I feel I'm going to give down the road. So I was like, this is super epic shower. Super epic shower. So, all right. Without further ado, my guest, Denise Peske, everybody. Welcome to the show, Denise.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on here. I've seen several of your shows now, and I just love them. And every time you make that intro, I'm like, yes, that's me. So I think it's great. Yeah. So, but I appreciate you having me on here. And I feel like I'm speaking for a lot of women. Like I said, I'm a breast implant illness survivor. And for those of you who don't know what that means I had breast implants, and they made me sick to a level of I can't even explain. And actually, I'm going to a little bit. So And now I'm sitting here today, and I kind of had to pinch myself today because I actually went and got my hair done, and I didn't want to beat the hairdresser with his brush as he was doing my hair. And I liked getting the shampoo done. And, I came home and I had dinner and I did dishes, and I'm alive and smiling for this event. So for me, this is incredible because a year ago, this is not how this would have gone down. So I'm super excited about this. So yeah, so it's good. So just so you know, some of the things that happened to me along the way, and I'll share more of the journey, but some of the symptoms of what women have, and unfortunately there's symptoms that other women have or other people have. So breast implant illness isn't really known as a true disease at this point. But over the course of, I got my implants in 2006, my hair started falling out, like literally after it started coming back in. My mom thought that they had shaved part of my head as a procedure or something. There was that much hair growing in. I went into early menopause, and then it reversed when I came out of getting my implants out. That's not something I wanted to have happen, but so it was kind of crazy. But yeah, so it definitely affects your hormones. It affects your fertility, constant chronic sinus infections, UTIs, yeast infections, chronically ill to a level that my immune system, they tested it. It wasn't detectable anymore. I didn't have an immune system. So they gave me boosters to boost it back up. I had the biggest thing I had was the migraines, and they were chronic, daily head pressure to the point I thought my head was in a vice. Like it was just inexplicable. High anxiety, paranoia, depression, vertigo, back, joint pain, neck pain, memory loss. I mean, and I know, like, you kind of joke, oh, I forgot what I was going to say there, but literally I was sitting in a doctor's office and she's like, what's your address? And I'm like, I know there's numbers in it. And it took me and she's like, no, I'll get it. And I was like, no, I'm going to remember my own address. But it terrified me because I literally couldn't remember where I lived. I had a lot of white spots or lesions on my brain forming from the migraines, which was affecting my memory, and my face would droop like I had a stroke. So, and that was happening pretty often. So, I mean, for women who go through this, these were my symptoms, but other women have things like they have autoimmune diseases. But again, these are things that happen to other people. So why would it was their breast implants? Like, what's the connection? And I think that's where a lot of people and a lot of doctors don't understand. There is a connection between the two, and how something so toxic in you can affect your entire body and your mind. So yeah, so it's pretty scary for a lot of women, especially when they don't know what's happening to them, and usually you don't. So yeah, so that's pretty much what I kind of went through in a nutshell. But for me, it started in 2006, and I was 4 years out of a divorce, and I thought, I had always felt super skinny. I didn't have a nice figure. I wanted to wear cute dresses, that were, the strapless dresses and the bikinis and all of that. And I was like, I'm going to get this done. And so I did. I was 36 years old, got implants done. I will tell you what, that procedure was painful. It was very painful. But I got them done. They said they were safe. These were the saline ones, smooth. They put them under the muscle. They're like, you'll feel fabulous when you're done. And I thought I did, until about a month or two after, maybe 3 months, I started to do exercising and go running, and I couldn't get a deep breath of air in my lungs. Well, I had just moved to the Cayman Islands, so I thought, well, it's because it's so humid here. There's some logic there. So it's humid. That's why I can't breathe. So I stopped running. And, over the course of time in 2008, I just wasn't feeling quite myself, but, you chalk it up to stress, work, what have you. And in 2008, I had my first knockdown, drag out migraine to the point where I called one of my colleagues to come pick me up, take me to the emergency room. And they pumped me full of like anti-inflammatories and pain medicine. And I was like, what just happened to me? And they were like, you just had a migraine. And I go, why? Why did I have a migraine? And they're like, have you never had one before? I go, no, I've never had one. And especially to have it to that level, he was constantly pulling the car over because I was sick the entire way there. I didn't know why that had happened. So I figured, okay, that's fine. I had a migraine. Now I'm better. And then the aura migraine started. So I was seeing like fuzzy things, lights all the time. But they were only happening maybe every 2 months I was getting it. And then they started happening more frequently. And the neck pain, I had really bad neck pain with it and back pain. So I started getting massages, started going for reflexology. I was doing all the stuff, but nothing was making it better. But again, why would I think it's my breast implants? So more time went on, and in 2010, I noticed that the implants were getting hard. I was like, I don't like this very much. So what do? In 2011, I said, yeah, let's get them, replaced. Let's get them taken out. Let's get them replaced. So I, with my lack of self-confidence, said, I want a bigger size even. So I went and saw my plastic surgeon, went up a size, and they said, well, now the silicone implants came back, and these are safe now. And I go, but wasn't there a whole thing back in the early 90s with the silicone breast implants? And they're like, yeah, but these are safe now. I go, okay. So I took their word for it and I got them put in. So then within a year of getting them put in, my gallbladder went bad for no reason. And like I was flying back, I was living in the Cayman Islands still. So all of these doctor's appointments, I'm flying back to the States to try, because you get to a certain level down there and they're like, we don't have anything else to help you. So I was flying back and they took the gallbladder out. I asked the surgeon, I said, why'd it go bad? He goes, I'm a surgeon. I'm here to take it out. I'm here to tell you it's bad. I don't know why it went bad. I had no stones. So that's frightening. My organs are going bad and you're not telling me why. So it's probably maybe 6 months, not even. After that, the pain shifted and it went to my appendix. So then I was flying back and forth again. They tested my appendix. They tested me for Crohn's, also colitis, all sorts of stuff. And everything came back clear. And I go, but I'm not okay. And they said, take some antacids and some other pill and you'll be fine. And yes. And over a little bit of time, what was strange is that the pain went away. So I was like, okay, well, that was that. And I moved on. Well, then the migraines started getting worse. And I didn't realize how worse they got until, Facebook is fun because all of a sudden I started seeing posts from like 10 years ago of when things started for me, how bad they were. And when I was at the doctor and when I was going for massages and stuff like that, because apparently I was posting it. And so it just, one thing led to another. They started testing me, my heart. They said I had pleurisy because I went and all of a sudden my heart, I was having issues. They said, well, it's pleurisy. And I'm like, well, why would I have that? No explanation. And they sent me back to the States. They thought it was my carotid artery. So they were testing that. And every single time, like they gave me something or did something, I swear I bought my doctor's cars because I was there all the time. My file was like this. It was huge. But every single time they gave me some sort of pill or something to take it away, the pain or whatever it was would shift and it would go somewhere else. And so it was almost like my body was like, okay, well, you're going to take care of it over here, but you're still not better. You haven't taken care of the problem. We're going to shift it now over to there. So it was a bizarre chain of events that would happen. And I thought I was just overstressed, overworked. I was working 70 hours a week, even though I love my job. It was a lot of work. I had things that were happening in my life. I had a death of my stepdaughter. I had my 2 dogs die right after that, who I had. They were 15 and 18 years old. So there was a lot of stuff that was, that I wasn't dealing with. And so I thought maybe that was part of it. I just needed to deal with my stuff. So I moved back to the States in 2014 because I couldn't take it anymore. And I thought my life is going to change. It's going to be so much better. I'll be back around my old friends. My parents live there. It'll be great. And so it was great for about a couple months. And then the migraines started again. And I started going to see a chiropractor for the neck pain, trigger point massages. And literally in a week's time, I could get 3 trigger point massages and the pain would come back within a day. So there was nothing taking the pain away. And I couldn't understand why. So I wrote a few things down. But then in, 2016, 15, my face started to droop. So I walked into my boss's office and he was like, that doesn't look right and it doesn't look good. You need to go see somebody. So I thought maybe it was something I had done with a manipulation with chiropractor. So I went to my chiropractor's office and I'm like, I think something's wrong. She goes, I think you need to go to the ER. So I ended up going to see my neurosurgeon, or my neurologist got me in. So I went to see him. He goes, I need to test you for a stroke. And I was like, that's scary. So he tested me and they did some other tests. And so they also found the lesions on my brain. He goes, we need to test you for MS as well. Okay. So, but everything came back clear. And I didn't have Bell's palsy. I didn't have Lyme's disease. All these tests went through. But you're fine. But I'm not fine. My face is drooping and I don't know why. Like, this is not attractive. So, so a little more time went on, more antibiotics, more pain pills, and I wasn't even I was taking just the migraine stuff because I'm like, I couldn't deal with anything stronger than that, even though there were days where it just was about to wreck me. And finally, I was talking with one of the bosses at work, and he had neck and back pain, and he had a neurosurgeon in Tennessee, and he was like, I think you should go and see him. And I said, okay. So he was out of network for me, and I didn't care. So I bought a plane ticket, went to Tennessee. Went to go see this guy, praying it wasn't going to cost me an arm and a leg. And he took a lot of time with me, and he walks back in, talked to me a little more, walked back out, did a little more research, came back in. He's like, has anybody ever told you you have migraine, complex migraine? And I go, no. And he was like, that's what you have. And I go, well, I don't know what that means. I get migraines sometimes. What does that mean? So he went in depth and talked to me about migraine. He goes, you need to get Botox. He goes, you're at that level. You've tried, obviously, all these other drugs without even knowing what you had that everybody's prescribing you. He's like, so go find a doctor who does Botox. So I found a neurologist in Clearwater. He's wonderful. And I was getting Botox injections, and it's, for some women, they say, Botox, that's great, get rid of your lines. I was getting 18 shots in my head every 10 to 14 weeks and during migraines. So it was brutal, and it took everything I had to get it done. So, but I could tell over time, the Botox wasn't really working much. But I was still getting it done because I was afraid not to get it done. And things kept seeming to go downhill, and I was going downhill quickly. Like, I started coming home at night, and I would just sit and watch TV, and I'd have a glass of wine, and I'm like, I just want to go to sleep. I just need something to make it stop. And it was just, days were getting dark. So I wasn't able to function as well at work. I was the HR manager for our company. And I finally walked into my boss's office one day and I said, I can't do this anymore. What else have you got? And he was like, I get it. And so I went into sales just because it was something new. I thought maybe the pressure of HR, because I was in charge of all of the safety, all of the problems. I'm like, maybe it's just exasperating whatever I'm going through. So I went into sales, and I was good for about 2 months, and then it started again. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening to me. And so I kept trying and trying and trying to like overcome it, whatever it was. I wanted to overcome it. And there was nothing. Like, I kept seeing my neurologist, and he was like, there was one day he was like, I'm really afraid I don't have an answer for you. But he kept working with me. He didn't give up on me. And then in the middle of 2018, somebody shared with me about something called the Curable App. So I was like, I'll try anything. So I didn't, I looked into the Curable App. I would have jumped on one leg and clucked like a chicken if they had said this would work for you. So I went into that, and that started me on the process of down the road of the whole mind-body experience and how your gut and your mind and suppressed memories can cause pain. So I was like, this kind of makes sense for me because I really haven't dealt with my stuff. And I really don't eat that healthy. I mean, for me, eating, I was getting better at it, but for me, eating, I would eat a bowl of cereal for dinner. I would skip lunch. I probably have way more sugar than anybody should. I had, my caffeine hit every morning with a cup or two of coffee, and they were like big cups like these. Big cups of coffee. With lots of sugar, lots of cream. And, my diet had changed when I lived in the Cayman Islands. Like, I started eating a lot of cheeses and just, trying different foods that I thought, I'm well, I can have this stuff. So my diet had really gone, what I didn't know, it was sideways, even though I didn't think it was that bad. But what I was figuring out with the Curable App is that this isn't enough for me. So I started to go reading about radical forgiveness workshops. I did one of those. I cried for 3 days after going to a radical forgiveness workshop and forgiving myself and forgiving everybody else. And I cried, and I thought, okay, this helped me. And then I was in pain again. So then I found a naturopathic doctor who dealt with migraines. And I'm like, great. And she said she helps tons of women, and she can help me to get better. So I had the phone call with her, and I said, okay, great. And it cost me a lot of money to go to her. And for 12 weeks, I was in a program. We talked every week. She did, whole hair sample analysis, tested my minerals, which were completely crazy. My minerals were at a level that my kidneys probably were going to start to go. And she was like, this is strange. It's almost like your body is hoarding some things and it doesn't want other things. She's like, we need to change your diet. And she worked specifically with me, put me on some supplements that I needed, and got me on a very healthy, whole foods, organic diet that I still use to this day. And, I went into more therapy. I started doing like spiritual healing. So I was doing Reiki and acupuncture, meditation. So I was trying to clear the chakras. I was doing all of that. And I went through a 3-month program, and I felt great. I was on top of the world. I was like, I'm healed, I'm cured. And that's what I told everybody, I'm cured. And they're like, that's great. And it lasted a month. And then all of a sudden, in a month's time, it shifted to an anxiety level that I can't even describe. Like, I knew I had bad anxiety before, and it would hit every time before a migraine. My mother figured that out for me because I would call her completely just off the rails and talking like a million miles an hour, like pacing the floor. And she was like, do you notice this hits every time before you have a migraine? And I was like, I hadn't. So I started making a note of that. Well, this time it was almost like I was in a heightened anxiety mode constantly, only it was like panic type, and right before that, I had listened. A friend of mine had said, there's this woman. She has a podcast. Her name's Angie Lee. She's like, you should listen to it. She has, she had something on there about her breast implants that were making, she decided to make a change. And I was like, I'll listen to it, but I'm healed. I'm not in pain anymore, but whatever. So I saw it, and I can't remember if I listened, if I read it, I don't remember, but she was talking about on how she got her implants out because she felt like she needed to be healthier. She felt better after she got them out. And I was like, well, good for you. I'm healed. That's not me. My breast implants are just fine. So, and I like wearing my dress the way I have it. So it was, yeah, there's the vanity. So what was it? It was right. I went to an event called, it was the Amplify event that Vanessa has. For those of you who know Vanessa and go to the Amplify event. It's, well, so, but it was that day that I went to her event, and I felt like I was on top of the world. And I felt very confident, very assured of myself. And then later that day, I knew there was like a shift in my anxiety and a shift in my momentum. And I was on the phone with somebody. I'm like, something's not right. Something's not normal. And I'm like, I feel like I literally wanted to do, I can't even tell you the amount of projects I wanted to do all at one time. It was no way humanly possible. And I'm like, this is scaring me. Something is not right. And, you know, my friend was like, oh no, you should embrace this, all this energy that you have. And I go, I am telling you, something is wrong. And it was within a couple weeks of that, the pain set back in. And I was like, what is going on? And it slowly just crept back in. And then I found myself in the middle of a Publix parking lot. And I'm like, I was coming to my end. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening to me. What could it be? I'm like, I just detoxed my entire body, my mind, everything. I should be well. Why am I not well? And the whole thought process is, I can't live like this anymore. I can't do this anymore. Something, it's got to be something. And so everything, I was like, toxins, my body, toxins, my mind, migraines, what is it? And I went, and so I Googled migraines and breast implants. And my phone just exploded with all of these stories of women. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I put these in me. So then my mind was racing and I kept reading more and more stories. And then finally I just took my phone and I was like, I just put it down. I was like, I can't read anymore. So I called my doctor that Monday. That was a Saturday. I called my doctor that Monday, and he was the same surgeon who put them in. And I trusted him because I had called another surgeon and she said, I can't help you until October. And I went, I won't make October. I don't know what that means by my saying that, but I won't make it. And I'm like, I will lose my house. I could lose my dogs. I'll lose my job. I'm like, I can't function like this anymore. I was at a level of pain that was so awful. And I was still trying to work. And all I had was me. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I called my surgeon and he was like, he got me in 2 weeks. And it was the same day that the FDA were being held for breast implants. Like all these women were going up to talk to the FDA about what the breast implants were doing to them. So this whole thing was going on at the exact same time I'm having my appointment. And he was like, I'm like, there's no coincidence there. So, you know, he's like, yeah, so I hear they're having these meetings with the FDA. And I go, yes, they are. And I go, because these things are toxic. And he was like, I saw a woman a year before, and I had her implants taken out. And he goes, she's just like you. She has your framework. She looked hollow, just like you do. And he goes, I saw her 6 months ago, and she's not doing well still at that mark, but I haven't seen her since. I'm like, I don't care. Get them out. So at that point, they started to hurt. Like it was almost like my body knew that was it, and my breasts, they were painful. And 2 weeks later, he got me in and I got him out. And he had told me like his career started with the whole Connie Chung expose. And he didn't want to do implants, but that's what women want. But when his career started, the whole Connie Chung expose came about breast implants. So his career started with explanting. That's all he was doing. And so he's like, I know about explanting. I know, because I was like, I did my research and I was like, I need to have an en bloc done or a total capsulectomy. And this is how it's going to happen. He's like, thank you for being the expert. So, but he was really good about it, and he did a capsulectomy. And I'll tell you what, that surgery was brutal for me. Like, I read online, some women, they come out and it's not so bad. For me, that he had to do complete muscle repair, and it's taken all. I'm still in pain. I'm 9 months out. My surgery was April 9th, and I still have pain. And last week was bad. I go through detox periods where the pain gets worse. I think it's inflammation. And I go into the fog and I start to have pressure again and memory loss. But now I know I just need to kind of take it easy, try to heal, sleep when I can. I was going home for lunch. Part of my lunch hour was sleeping for 30 minutes. I'd set my alarm just to get 30 minutes of sleep to make it through the rest of the day. And that was every day last week. But I do great, like, for a couple months now, and then I just kind of go backwards. So it was not a pretty procedure. I'm not going to give you the gory details, but I'll tell you what, there is nothing pretty about breast implants at this point, because I was like, between how I looked right before my surgery, how my face looked with the hair loss I had aged like 10 years. My skin was getting all crepey, bags under my eyes, even my hands. My hands were like, they were wrinkly. I looked like I had little lady hands. I'm like, that's not cool. So it's been, a slow progression of healing for me. But I have to say, what changed me on this whole course, if I can segue into that, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. What changed me on this whole course was before I knew about natural healing, before I got into the whole breast implant thing, I was driving down the road one day, coming home from work, and I remember exactly where I was, and I stopped at a stoplight, and I just looked up, and I'm like, I don't understand why I'm going through this. Why can't I just get better? I keep trying. Why can't I get better? And I'm just like sitting there and I'm looking up, and I just got this weird feeling, and I was like, it's about the lessons. This is all about lessons. And I haven't learned the lesson yet. I don't know what it is. Would you just tell me? Make it easy. Let's make a deal. But there was no deal. So I'm learning the hard way. And so I knew I had to go through all of this stuff. So by me going through and dealing with stuff from my past and getting my diet cleaned up and learning to take care of myself and appreciate my health and appreciate the people around me who care about me, and learn that life is not about all work. Learn that I'm not going to be pretty because I put in breast implants. Learn that, because I wear designer clothes, that's not going to make me beautiful. Or, a great, a Mercedes Benz isn't going to make me, anything better than I was the day before I had one. That's not what's going to happen. So, I just kind of had to figure it out on my own. And then in between getting the implants out, and I was nominated for an award, and it was the Butterfly Award with Alpha House Pinellas, and it was on my journey to health. And so they nominated me I didn't know that this was what was wrong with me. They just saw that I was somebody who was in constant pain, but I was striving still to try and help others. Like, I was constantly volunteering with Habitat to help build homes. And, being on their committees. I was volunteering with Alpha House. I was on their committees. I was on their board. In 2018, though, I started backing off. So I kind of felt bad that they were nominating me, because I'm like, I had to back off a little bit. And they're like, you still do a lot. And I had joined Miles for Migraine. I had joined the Global Healthy Living Foundation to try and advocate for all of this stuff that I was going through, not knowing why I had it or why it was happening to me. But I was like, I'm out to find answers for people. So my empathy for what other people were going through was just huge. Like, I now know what it feels like for somebody who is dealing with these stomach issues, and for somebody who has chronic debilitating migraines. I know what it's like to have your face droop and feel like you might be having a stroke, or your memory completely just zap out of your brain. And it's not just a blip of a second. It's you're sitting there not knowing where you live. And it's terrifying. So I was very grateful. I got nominated twice. And so I was writing my speech for this award, and I was like, how am I going to get up there and say to all these people? Because at this point, I knew what had happened to me. How do I get up there and say this? Like, I can get up there and say I've had all of these things. But now I knew that everything that I had gone through was all connected. And so I started writing and going down, and it was all about the lessons. And I learned empathy, and I learned this and that. And then it finally hit me. And I'm like, the biggest lesson I had to learn was that I lacked self-confidence and had poor self-body image. I didn't love me. And I said that in a room full of 100 people, and I just was shaking in the knees. And I said that I wanted to help other women to learn to love their natural bodies, to learn to love who they are and embrace who they are, so they don't have to go through what I've gone through. And at that point, I knew that I wanted to do something, but I didn't know how. I was like, good for me. I made a speech. Now what do I do with this? So it was quite the journey. And I thought once I explanted, everything would be gravy. But it hasn't been 100%. As many women find out, it's still a journey of learning about yourself and learning to deal with things and slowly improving your health. Because if you have implants in you and they're toxic for 13 years, it's pretty incredible. Like, your body has to take time to heal and to detox, and you have to learn patience and kindness with yourself. And it's been quite remarkable, I will say. So that's kind of my story. And for people who say, breast implants are, it's only the silicone ones that are bad. That's not true. Because I had saline ones when this all started, and my implants didn't rupture. They're sitting in a drawer in my room, and they're intact, and there was nothing wrong with them. But the shell on all implants is made of silicone, and the number of chemicals that are in these it's disgusting. It's gross that they think that putting these kind of chemicals, like I can't remember off the top right now what all is in there, but it's something to the level of antifreeze. So the chemicals that are in these things are just bad. So no matter what, that your body then forms a shell, which is the capsule. That's why it's called a total capsulectomy or en bloc. They got to get that shell out because it forms around it to try and protect your body from the implants. And that's where, the importance of that is because in there's a cancer that's caused from the implants. It's called BIA ACL, I think is the name of it. And so I feel bad for the women who have had mastectomies. They go and they get implants done, and then some of them end up with this cancer that's caused from breast implants, or they end up horribly sick, just like I was, or worse, from the implants. And there are countless stories that I have heard and talked to women about. One woman recently, she was down to 85 pounds. There have been women who didn't make it. We hear those stories in our groups, which is gut-wrenching. I was talking to friend of mine, and he was like, I think it's great what you're doing, Denise, that you're out there talking to women and trying to help them, and you're speaking out about it. And I'm like, why? How does this affect you? Like, thank you, but how does this affect you? And he was like, well, my sister, we think that's how she died. And I go, what are you talking about? And I've known this gentleman for a long time, and I didn't know this. And he said, well, she had breast cancer and she had a mastectomy done and she didn't want implants, but he goes, and she didn't get them in right away. She waited a couple months, but they made it sound like that's the next thing you do. So she got them in. For her, he's like, she wasn't a vain person. And I don't think it's necessarily vanity at that point. It's just, you want to feel more womanly. So she wanted to get, a lot of women want to get the implants in. And so she did. And he said it was within, he's like, weeks that body went sideways. And he said, she told me she felt like it was the implants. He said, but there was no diagnosis. There was no autopsy. And of course, there's no way to prove it. But she passed away within, he said, and she was super healthy before she had them. So is there a connection? He goes, I don't know. He goes, but I think there is one. And this was back in 2012. Yeah. So, I mean, when I hear these kind of stories, it's tough for me to hear them, only because, I hear other women saying it. I met with somebody for tea not long ago, and she's explanted since, thankfully. But she's sitting there and she's talking to me, and I can see the hollowness in her eyes, and she had lost a lot of weight. I mean, she still looked beautiful, but she wasn't the same person I knew like a couple years before. And she's like, I need help. I'm not able to do the surgery until like March. And this was December. And so I was talking to her, and she goes, I won't make it. And I went, I know that feeling. Talk some more about what she could do to try to get in earlier. And fortunately, she made some calls and she was able to get in January. And so she's already explanted. But I know the feeling, and I know when women say those words, they're not kidding. They feel like they're dying inside. And technically they are. And it's not that the implants themselves are causing it. It's causing the immune system to collapse on itself. Your body can only take so much, and it goes into fight or flight, and it's in a constant fight mode. It's given it all it's got, and it's trying to save you, it's trying to protect you. But it can only fight so hard against this like evil menace that's in your body, because it's duking it out every day. So, and I think after women explant, I think it's important to know your body it's been trained. It's been in long-term training of fighting. And so it's got to calm down. It's got to settle down. It's got to, you've got to really take care of yourself with good foods. When you're able to do exercise, I've eliminated a lot of toxins. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I tried it, and my body was like, I don't think so.
Not happy. No.
And I love my wine. And, but for me, it just wasn't worth it to go back into those kind of feelings. I'm like, I like feeling alive and alert and, waking up knowing that, I'm going to like take on the day. And to me, that's why today was super exciting. I'm like, I got my hair done. I'm on a show.
Life rocks.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No. And you know what though? We need those little indicators that we're moving along. And what I want to say from all of this is that you really I tell people this is something that I really started talking about a lot, is there is so much purpose in what we go through. It's like you said, like now when you talk to those women and you feel what they feel, and it's like you think back to when you were going back through it, and you're like, imagine if you had met a woman that's like, I understand every single thing you're talking about. And you've been like, oh my God, like now, it all makes sense. But it's like in those times where we have to go through all that stuff, you come to that point where you can look back and go, okay, now I get it. Because I really feel like we don't learn the lessons until we have no choice but to learn them. You know, because it's like you look back at the story and it's like something told you something was wrong. You're like, oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Something told you something. No. What? Now it's like, hey, something's wrong. Like,
And that's exactly what happened.
like, okay. And that's, you know, but I feel like that's what we do a lot in life. And I mean, we've been talking for a little bit and you've kind of seen how mine's going. Life is like smacking me around right now. I'm just sitting there. I feel like I'm going, oh my God. Like, oh my God, please just stop. Like, can I just breathe for like 5 seconds? But it goes back to, I meet so many women. They're like, I just feel like I can't breathe. Like some days it's just like, and it's like, oh, okay. I get it now. You know, and we turn around and it's like, now you're like, okay, now I get to be this voice. You know, it's like, oh, I get to be this voice.
And the one thing, you know, people ask me, they're like, are you anti-implant or are you, and I go, I think women are capable of making their own decisions. Unfortunately, when you really want something, you're still willing to sometimes make a decision. You put blinders on, even though you hear stuff. Because I remember when I got the implants to begin with, I was like, you know, back in my early 20s, I mean, I had been anorexic and bulimic. I mean, my poor self-body image goes back, way back. And so I had been anorexic and bulimic. And so that caused my health to go sideways. You know, I ended up with Epstein's Barr and chronic fatigue, and my thyroid was hyper. And so I was on medication for that. And over the course of time of, again, taking care of myself, all of that disappeared. So when I got them, I was like, you know, I had issues, but I seem to be better now. They're like, well, no, you should, you know, I mean, again, I was talking to the surgeon at that point, but you should be fine, blah, blah, blah. And okay, I'll be fine. And so, yeah, you believe what you want to believe, I think, to some degree. And I was at a level of, I was finally willing to listen to myself and to my body and learn it. Because honestly, I remember chatting with one of my girlfriends downtown. We went for appetizers and she was like, you know, I've thought about getting implants or, you know, having a lift done or this or that. And I go, yeah, mine are great. I love them. I'm so glad she did not do anything based on that conversation. And I remember over the course of time telling my friends, you know, yeah, if you can ever get them done, you know, it's painful when you have it done, but go ahead. I mean, this is like major surgery. It's major surgery that you are putting your body through so that you can have bigger boobs. It's the most ridiculous thing on the planet at this point in my head. I'm like, are you kidding me? Now I have scars. I'm like, that's attractive. So, I mean, before I didn't have scars. Yeah, so it's not as easy as they say to get them taken out. Is it worth it for your health? Yes, 100%, because I will take having my life back now. I mean, I'm able to make plans. I'm able to go see people, do things. I have moments, yeah, but they're moments. And that's a lot different than an everyday life of wondering if you're going to even be able to get up in the morning. Yeah, and so that's a lot different. So, I mean, your health is, without your health, you have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I am incredibly grateful that I have my health back, because I honestly thought at one point in time with everything I was doing, I was never going to get it back. Like I was going to end up, you know, I didn't know where I was going to end up, you know, on one of my relatives' sofas or something, you know, living out my days. Like, but it's a very frightening thing when you can't function and you can't function and you don't know what to do about it. And there's no medication that worked for me. And even Eastern medicine wasn't working for me prior to getting them out, only because my body it could only do so much. So it couldn't penetrate what was going on. So I could do all the acupuncture in the world. It would work momentarily, and then that was it. And everything would go right back to fighting.
I want to say a couple things before we like start moving into the end of this, but it's like, first and foremost, it's what blows. Well, okay, no, this is what I want to say, because I was like, I feel like this is what I want to say. So isn't it funny, because we talk about everything being a mirror, right? Mm-hmm. So isn't it funny when we look through this, we're like, nothing superficial out here could penetrate it. I had to go like way, way, way below the skin.
Yep.
So when we talk about the real growth, everyone's like, oh yeah, you know, you got all like woke and shit and you did a bunch of yoga and you look great and that stuff works. Like I do it too. You know, meditation, like I love it. But the stuff that's like really painful, like that does not, like that's way below the skin and it's messy and it's toxic and it's all this stuff and you have to stop and actually look at what is outside of this. And then the other part is it blows my mind. It blows my mind that we are so for women are touted that this is like, oh no, don't worry about loving yourself as you are. You know, if you put this in, then you'll be the right kind of woman. It's like, what?
Yeah, I heard a commercial not long after I explained. I swear it took everything I had not to call that plastic surgeon's office. But I heard it, and it was, do you want to feel more confident about yourself? Do you want to look better in your clothes? You should come see us and get breast augmentation done. And I was like, oh my gosh, you did not just say that out loud on the radio. For women to feel that they are not perfect just as they are. I mean, women look beautiful in their clothes naturally. Why are they telling us we don't? We do. I mean, that's the most ridiculous statement on the planet. And breast implants aren't going to give you confidence. They're going to give you false confidence. And that's it. Like, and honestly, I stopped focusing on the rest of my body. And I hear other women say that, like, I thought that's what made me beautiful. Yeah, no. But then I forgot about the rest of me and taking care of me and dealing with all the other stuff. So you're right. So then I had to dig really deep to clean it all out. And that's messy. It's really messy.
But I always feel like that's the way we learn it. You know, it's messy and it sucks, but we're like, there's no way in hell ever that I ever want to do that ever again. Like, you know, I have a friend, who's my best friend, one of my best friends in the world, and she's going through the shit, and she's finally getting to it. The inner work, like the real work. She's like, I don't know what any of this looks like, but I will take whatever this is because this, I don't do this anymore. She's like, I don't do this. And I tell women, I said, you're going to get to that point at one point. You're like, I don't know what this looks like, but it's got to be a hell of a lot better than this. I don't want this anymore. And that's when you'll know that you're ready to go to the next level because you're like, listen, I don't want to do that. But it takes that shake up. You know, I think we really got to get smacked in the face. And it's something I saw today. It's like, someone posted it. If I didn't make you uncomfortable, you wouldn't have moved. / like the universe. It's like thinking
it's
back.
True.
Like, you know, you had to get super uncomfortable for you to finally go, oh my God, maybe it's something that I've done to myself. And we do it to ourselves, right? We do it to ourselves. Before all this stuff with my daughter, I was in this massive zone of comfort. I was like, oh yeah, this is where I need to be. And it's not. This was like one of those temporary stopping points.
Yep.
Like, this is not where you're staying. This is just where you're for this moment. And I was like, oh, you know, we'll just keep going a little longer. And because I don't know. No, it's time to go now. Next piece. So it's like, if I didn't make you uncomfortable, you wouldn't have moved. And a lot of the times, what do they say in life? People make decisions based on pleasure and pain. They either want to feel that way again, or they never want to feel that way again, right? Yeah. So I think the greatest lessons in life are the ones that either cause us tremendous amounts of pleasure or causes us tremendous amounts of pain.
It's true. And the pain almost, if you get to a point of pain where you can't deal anymore, that's going to supersede so many things. So.
And then it's right back to that. Okay, what do I do to take care of myself so I don't feel that way? So it's like ding, ding, ding,
Exactly.
ding, ding, ding. But oh my gosh, I feel like this could go on. Like but because we are getting to the end, and I want to make sure that we respect everything. Tell everybody what this has translated into you doing, and feel free to share what you feel called to share.
Sure.
But I like to tell people, well, first and foremost, my favorite question, I want to make sure I ask this, is like, if you had 3 pieces of advice, 3 tangible tips, takeaways from your life that you could give to a woman who said, listen, this is like, how did you do it? How did you make it through? What was it that kept you from just saying, I'm done and I quit and I'm going to lay here and like die? Like, what stopped you from, what kept you going?
I learned to start talking to people. Reaching out to my family and friends, and not everybody understood. And I had to learn that was okay. And that's hard when somebody doesn't understand and they reject that. But you find your tribe. So you got to find your tribe of people who are going to be there for you through thick and thin, because it's tough. So, but if one person rejects you, find the next, because it's not their problem. And so you can't get angry at them if they don't. So, but find your tribe and make sure they're your tribe that you can call at 10 o'clock at night when you're completely melting down. I had my best friend from high school. She knew on Facebook if I started posting way too many posts, my phone would ring, and she knew something wasn't right. She knew I was in manic mode with it. So you got to find your people. The next one is get help. I went through a lot of therapy with this before and after. And so don't be afraid to get help. Don't be afraid of the therapy word. It's there's a reason for it. And if one therapist doesn't work for you, we'll go another one. Find the one that works for you. But you're going to have to deal with some stuff. A lot of us do. So don't be afraid to get help in that regard either. And 3, listen to your body and be patient and kind with it. Don't get angry at yourself. And that's hard. But you can't, because you got to love yourself. Bottom line, you're going through a lot of stuff. You got to make sure you find that love and take care of you just like you would a child or a loved one. And that's how you have to treat yourself. So those would be my 3 tips.
So looking back on the journey and everything you've gone through, how has that translated into what you're doing now with your life? Like what's that other side, as they call it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just got chills. So I didn't know what I was going to do, and I reached out to, and I got a coach, and we brainstormed. I'm like, how can I help women? So I started Pretty Lovely You, Breast Implant Illness Sisters Embracing Self-Love on Facebook. And I took my random posts, and I made it a focus to help women to embrace self-love, self-confidence. And it's not just breast implant illness women, it's all women. So anybody can be in this group. It's just that since I'm going through breast implant illness, I still raise awareness with it. But it's learning to love ourselves. So I bring, people on to talk to women about different ways of learning to love yourself and learning to love your body. And so whether it's therapists or whether it's stylists or whether it's, an acupuncturist, somebody who does yoga, but how all of those things can help you with your confidence and where confidence comes from. So, and the other thing that I'm doing, and I might as well just say it because it's coming up fast. Yes. Is that Pretty Lovely You is now a company in the state of Florida. And I am going to New York City in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, to find bras for women who specifically focusing on small-breasted women, because that's who I am. And I went out to find a bra and I couldn't, and I cried. I went, I remember this. And it's not that I'm excluding everybody else. I'll probably include more, but I have to start small. And so I'm going to find those bras, but I want them to be beautiful, because I want to wear a beautiful bra. I deserve one. I deserve, that piece. And we all deserve to have pretty things. And so I'm going to do that. But I also want to focus on women who have breasts that are 2 different sizes, and women who have had mastectomies. So I think all of us, no matter who we are, what size we are, what shape we are, we all deserve things that make us happy. So, yeah.
I want to say, I got so many chills. I love this. But I think this is why it's so important for everybody to own their story, because your purpose lies in that story. Like your purpose. And it's funny how we think it's one thing when we're going through it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like, I don't want to feel this way anymore. But really what it is like, look at all the women now you're saving because somebody that they knew told them, okay, don't do this. And this is how, or brought them to you and you're like, okay, this is how you actually find the love that you've been looking for. And then, you save all these people's lives. But all it started was that one little tiny, like that little grain of sand that got up in our clamshell, grain of sand. And then it's like, we get it and we're, hey, what do I do with this anymore? I don't know what this means. For me, it was going through all that crap, dating a bunch of addicts, having to lose everything and going, I never want to feel that way anymore. And getting to that point where I'm like, oh, I feel like my head's above water. And I go, okay, well, I would love to help other women. Like, what do I do with it?
Right.
Cool. Like, God, this is great. Like, what? Okay, cool. We're gonna, and then it's like, okay, well, I'll start here. And then you get there and you're like, oh, okay, here's the next part of it. And it's like, and you see it, but it's funny how it snowballs. And it's like, it starts as one thing and you go, it's like a lump of clay. You're like, what do I do with it, God? What do I do with it? And next thing you know, it's this masterpiece. It's this work.
It is. So, and it just keeps manifesting on its own. Like it evolves. And yeah, so my whole big thing is a butterfly, because the butterfly comes out of its cocoon and starts to fly. So.
See, I'll say a lot of the women that I've met, when you talk to them about like, how do they express their business? It's always this method of rebirth. Like it's like this journey of rebirth. For me, it's the phoenix. And always, like all these women always have these patterns and cycles of the rebirth and everything. And it's so like it's amazing how work and art and all that imitate your life. You go through this complete shattering, as I call it. It's like a complete shattering of who you are to this total rebirth.
Yeah.
I said, and the next thing you know, you're actually who you're supposed to be, doing what you want to do.
I know. It's so nice, right?
Oh my gosh. Oh, tell everybody, because we're getting to the end. We are at the end. Tell everybody about how they can get a hold of you. And what it is like that you're doing in the moment. Are speaking, if you want to speak about this more, because I really feel that your story is really important. I think everybody's story is important, but I think that this is something that we're not talking about. And I think it's so entrenched in other stuff. It's like, how are we marketing to women? What are we actually discussing? They think these are the conversations that we need to have.
Yeah.
So the more we can keep propelling them forward, the better we're going to be. Because like you said, it's like anything else with growth. It's going to look ugly for a little while, because for so long we have been fed this bullshit lie that, oh, well, if you fit into this aesthetic, because it's like, I understand the shittiness of not the shittiness. Yeah. The shittiness of going to find a bra. And it's like, I remember Victoria's Secret and they're like, well, you're this size.
I know.
I'm like, that size doesn't even exist anywhere. How am I supposed to buy it? So I'm like, and like, of course, like I think that you said in our conversation, you get the nice little like tan one and the white one and the black one.
Yeah.
I want to wear that maroon one with the pretty legs. Like,
thank you.
Fit my boobs, and it's like, I can't wear them. You can't have mismatched underwear. It's just like, it doesn't work like that. So yeah, but it's being able to come up to a space where you can see that you're like, oh, okay, now I get it, and this is what I do with it. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, so tell everybody how they can reach out to you so we can keep getting connected.
Well, they can definitely reach out to me on Facebook by Denise Peske, and you'll see my face. But then also, if you just want to join the Facebook group, Pretty Lovely You, Breast Implant Illness Sisters Embracing Self-Love. But if you just type in Pretty Lovely You, it's going to pop up. I'm the only one out there. So those are the two best ways to reach me. Or if you just want to send me a messenger note on Facebook, that's cool too. So yeah, I'm happy to chat up with women about this. I talk to women all the time, and I'm willing to do, speaking events if somebody, has a venue where they need someone to talk about this. I'm pretty much at this point an open book. I was the most conservative person probably. I mean, I don't care if people curse or whatever they do. I don't. So I'm like this little conservative person, and now all I talk about are boobs. I mean,
the shattering of who
I know.
But
it's kind of fun.
I want to point out something you said, and I love this because this is the other reason I think it is very important to share our story. So you said If you look me up, I'm the only one of me. Ladies, gentlemen, when you ask yourself, why should I do something? Oh, who am I to think that, or surely nobody, you are the only one. Yeah. Nobody else has your story. Right. Nobody else will, I can't think of the word, will attract the people you attract. Nobody else will have the business that you have.
They don't have your purpose
for everybody, but nobody's going to have the success you're going to have. Nobody's going to be able to share your story the way you are. Nobody's going to relate to the women that you're going to relate to. And it's like, so when you say, I'm the only one, like, I think true love comes in figuring out that that's it. Like, you are the only one of you. And that's enough. Like, that's enough. You can be you. I can be me. We can be, ourselves. And that's a beautiful thing. So I love to hear that. You're like, if you look me up, I'm the only one. It's like, yeah, you are. You're the only Denise Peske. Like, other Denises in the world, but you are the only Denise Peske. And forever.
There you go.
All right, you guys, reach out. If you want to send me your link, Denise, I'll put it in the Facebook thing.
Sure.
So, the comments, so we can go.
Yeah, and I'm also on Instagram under Denise Peske as well.
Yes, if you go on my Instagram, I think I've got you tagged in one of the posts. So yes, you guys, please reach out and get to know Denise some more, man. Like, her story, your story, like, this was, I love it. You did so great.
Thanks.
All right, you guys. I will see you guys Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Samantha rescheduled, so she will be coming on the show. I'm so excited. And then, you guys, episode 50 is next week. All right. And also, I want to talk about this just real quick before we get off here. I am finally getting back on the train with the Leadership Academy. That's what it is going to be going forward. So I'm excited about that.
That's awesome.
I had to take a step back, and I am still like, it's still nothing like what I expected. I'm just at this point, it's funny with this whole thing. I was sitting in the car talking to my friend, and I'll say this before we get off here because this is very pertinent. I've never said something like this with this much belief and conviction, but I go, at this point, like, that's when like all this shit's hitting the fan. I said, at this point, you know what? Anything can happen. Anything is possible. My friend's like, yeah, I know. I said, you know what? Anything is possible. Right. Look, I said, if all this shit can happen, anything can happen. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, it's like the weirdest realization in the world, but I'm like, anything can happen. So you guys just have belief that anything in this world can happen. I mean, really. So, all right, you guys. Without further ado, thank you so much for being on here, you guys. And Scott was our guest tonight. He said, what's this about? Scott, I'm sorry. I had a man come up. I know we got to get up here. I had a man come on with the YouTube episode for Jess. And he goes, another girl I had on. He goes, is this a girl cult? Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to get off here now. But, okay, you guys, so it just makes me laugh. So, Scott, if you come back and catch this is Denise sharing her amazing story. So, this is the TUF Woman Table. Hey, man, if you got the balls to sit at this table, you can kick it with us, okay? But you guys, for anybody that catches this on the replay, put hashtag replay. Let me know what you thought and reach out to Denise, okay? You guys, see you guys Thursday for the 49th episode.
Hi.
And we're going to be on 50, and I'm going to get confetti guns. All right? Like, all right? Much love, you guys. See you Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Bye.